This is something to talk about from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center, which is sponsored by Fieldstone Memory Care Bainbridge Island. Fieldstone offers innovative and compassionate care and are worth the wait. To learn more, call 360-271-2530 and schedule a tour of Fieldstone's beautifully appointed apartments on Rolling Bay today. As you may have seen, the New York Times reported this week that an outpouring of support for Afghan refugees is a bipartisan affair. Despite this country's strong divisions over immigration issues, the plight of the people who are trying to leave Afghanistan is of concern across the political spectrum. And we're going to start today from talking to some folks who are actively concerned about and trying to help with resettlement efforts. Greg and Pam Keys are organizing a short-term campaign to restock our regional support agencies. The Keys are working through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and have embraced other local faith organizations, including the Interfaith Council and others. And so they're on a sort of a short-term deadline, but there are also longer-term programs to try to raise support for refugees. About, I think, 50 or 60 Afghan refugees have shown up in the state of Washington thus far, but many more are expected. And of course, across the country as well. And there are a number of organizations that try to help make that transition for people who are coming from other parts of the world easier. So I know Greg and Pam, you've been involved with this before with people coming from Syria and elsewhere. So I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing to try to help.
Thanks, Reed. So the thing that I wanted to say is what intrigues me when these things happen is how hearts are knit together in caring, and the beauty that comes as we strive to serve other people together. So there is a huge need, as Reed just said, across the country, but locally in our area, as well as refugees are being assigned here. So I wanted to give just a brief. The Lutheran Community Services Northwest in Tacoma contacted our church in Tacoma asking for their support. They had been partners in many other refugee efforts, but asking for the support for specifically kitchen supplies. They reached out to our area, the Silverdale stake of the Church of Jesus Christ, and then that was assigned down to local areas. And so Greg and I were given the Bainbridge Island area. I reached out to Alice McCain because I wanted a Lutheran to know that we were working with that Lutheran Community Services. And then as Reed said, the Interfaith Council became involved and were discussing the options there for those congregations. And then Rotary heard about it. So it's this lovely expansion throughout our community from organizations and religious groups and congregations working together for a common purpose and a common good. So I was delighted with that process. I've got a little PowerPoint that will help us sort of you to see what we are doing. And so 1 second here. I'm just going to leave it side by side there. You can see, do people see that Afghan refugee project?
Yep, it's clear.
Okay, so there you've got it. It's sponsored by the Lutheran Community Services Northwest and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Tacoma North and Silverdale. Our specific assignment came related to kitchen kits. And they asked for newly purchased items. And the ones that I've listed here are simply the fewest items, the category of the fewest items we received. We have received many, many donations already because our deadline is this Friday, because on Saturday for the National Day of Service, we wanted to deliver it to Tacoma. And so for Bainbridge Island and actually Silverdale, this was it. But these are such things that were needed for those kitchen kits. And again, these are things that we We have some of, but not a large amount of. So I just, like I say, listed what might be of interest. And those of you who received, I hope, our flyer have the entire list and other information that I'm going to share. These are just pictures of some of the things that we've received so that you know that indeed over the time we are receiving incredible donations. So we're grateful for that. This is the remaining time and locations for the kitchen item drop-off. And we scheduled it out for 2 weeks, and today, Wednesday, from 2 to 4, and this Friday from 4 to 8 p.m. And this is the Bounty Farm, 8045 Fletcher Bay Road Northeast. So if you come west and want to physically drop off, then you would just go across Fletcher Bay Road and their drive would be there. And then there are signs. We have young adults and young teenagers actually helping collect and sort and store the items. So we're grateful to the youth around us for helping with that. Now I'm going to turn it over for a minute because the other 2 kits that Reed mentioned came after we were contacted about the kitchen kits. And when I shared that with Eagle Harbor and with Bethany Lutheran, what I heard in the chats between us was that they were going to look at maybe sharing those kinds of things with theirs. On this, you'll notice that Lutheran Community Services identifies this size box, a 15 by 16 by 21 inch, sort of perfect for each kit. For these, they would love the kit delivered whole. So I will turn it over to Greg now.
We have about, we have a garage full of kitchen supplies that will take, it looks like right now, if we got no more, we have about 2 truckloads, and so, or 2 pickups, and we're hoping to get more of that as the donations wind to an end here. The bathroom kits and cleaning kits are projects that any group in the community could take on. The bathroom kit includes those things you see in front of you, fairly simple, and that can fit very nicely into a 15 by 16 by 21 inch box. For the kitchen things, they're willing to sort those out down in Tacoma. It would be nice, I think, for them to, or they've requested that bathroom and cleaning kits be delivered together as a kit. It's a little tougher for the cleaning kit because it's hard to fold a mop and a broom and get, it's hard to fold up a mop and a broom. So what we have to do is put together a kit and then stick a mop and broom with it. And so these are the things that they're asking for. So if there is an organization in the community that would like to tackle one of these 2 or both of them, then Lutheran Community Services would be very grateful for that. And we have the contact numbers available for you. So I'll turn it back to Pam.
What I wanted to say for that, Reverend Paul from Bethany Lutheran, his father lives on the way, and he has actually offered, if people put together one of these kits, he has offered to pick them up and deliver them to the location in Tacoma. So if you're interested, we can provide you with contact information there. So with that, are there any questions? We just are so delighted to share with you something that has touched our hearts for a number of reasons and why we've become involved. And are so grateful for the response we've seen already. With 2 more days, we await additional donations. But are there any questions?
So I'll just, to clarify, there is if you are able today or this week to immediately respond, yeah, if you could go to that slide number 2, the keys with LDS and the Interfaith Council are collecting these specific things. This is what they're looking for right now. And if you can help with that, then you can take them to the Bounty Farm, which is the location on Fletcher Bay, and either this afternoon or on Friday. Then Eagle Harbor Church and and the Bethany Lutheran Church are continuing to collect the items that are in the kits, the hygiene kits, either the cleaning kits or the kitchen kits. And they are looking to take them later in September.
Bathroom.
So that gives you
bathroom kits.
bathroom kits, correct. Thank you. So those, and I will attach to this video when I send it out a list of those items too. And again, they're looking for people to help out by putting together the entire kit, making it much easier to transport and taking some of the many steps out of the way of that. I'd like to invite Ellen Spencer, who has joined us, to come on as well. Ellen has volunteered with refugee crises before. She went to Greece to help with arriving Syrian refugees with the SCM medical missions. And in response to the Afghan refugee crisis going on now, she's been talking with not only SCM Medical, but World Vision and the Vashon Resettlement Committee. So you probably can speak a little bit, Ellen, to the value of trying to get as much work done locally as possible and recognizing what kinds of things are best responded to with money rather than with items. You'll need to unmute yourself, but
I have been in touch with SCM, which is the organization with whom I volunteered in Greece, and they have continued to help Syrian and now Afghan refugees in the Seattle area and in Spokane. The list they gave me, which I sent to you, Reed, is pretty similar to what I'm hearing you talk about. They do need clothing. They need
you said clothing, underwear, the hygiene kits, backpack, school supplies,
right,
and gift cards. Tell me about gift cards.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's more efficient for well-intentioned people like us to give gift cards, because then the organization can purchase precisely what they need for a specific family of refugees. My son and I schlepped a bag as big as myself to Greece, filled with socks and mittens and things like that. And you know what? They sell those things in Greece, and it would have been a lot easier to just go with money and buy them, which we also did. But so I am, I guess, of two minds on this. On the one hand, I think it's great to gather stuff together, but and it does save the organizations, particularly if they're doing a lot of outfitting of refugees and families. It saves them the work of having to buy the stuff for sure. But it's also sometimes not the most efficient way to do that. So
we have a couple, right? We have a couple of situations here. The Keys are working with local or regional folks who are trying to settle refugees in the area where the transportation isn't as much of an issue, and where the Lutheran services are looking for specific, Lutheran Community Services Northwest are looking for sort of specific items to help people set up housekeeping. Perfect
right. So
time.
a box of cleaning supplies and utensils and that sort of thing. That's great. Clothing, I think it's much more helpful if family A has a boy who's 12 and a girl who's 7. If they have gift cards to Target and various stores like that, the resettlement folks can buy precisely what that family needs rather than trying to make do with stuff that people have donated. But
right, and the other thing that
it's all good.
It's all good. But the other thing that I thought that you might be able to give some perspective on, because you went to Greece, is that situation where we have people who are still very much on the trail. They are not where they are going to be living. They're in between spots, and I'm expecting that we're gonna see that as well, where there are people who are currently in Afghanistan who are trying to get out of the country, who will land in neighboring countries where there are probably resources being marshaled there to help them.
Right.
And so those organizations will need the kind of help that you recognized in Greece, right? Which is a little different than what we're talking about for people who might be moving to South King County. Yes, Pam?
I mean, not Paul, Reed. That we were given is that the sequence is the refugees arrive on the East Coast and then are sent throughout the country through various volunteer organizations like Lutheran Community Services Northwest. Lutheran Community Services Northwest apparently has been doing this for a long time, helping refugees. So that was the sequence that we were given. And indeed, what I was notified in my chain was they started arriving in our area on September 1st, the area that the Lutheran Community Services is aware of, and that there were refugees arriving every day since then. So
that's what I hear from SCM as well, similar. And they are like Lutheran Services. SCM is providing household goods, and their biggest need, and you may already have talked about this, is housing. And frankly, I don't know how we deal with that one. I mean, housing is just so expensive, and apparently these people are allocated $1,200 a month. And I don't know if that's per person or per family, but it's supposed to cover everything. And I'm sorry, but you cannot pay rent and buy food and get transportation for $1,200 a month in the Seattle area. So I don't, that's the most troubling one, is how are these people housed? And at some point we can talk about what they're doing on Vashon, because they've just done an amazing, generous, mind-boggling job of rallying their community to provide housing, jobs, English lessons, driving lessons to several Syrian families. And there have been some hiccups in that process. But as Reed knows, when I first came back from Greece and wanted to do something here, my first thought was, well, Bainbridge is the sort of place where people will want to do something. They're kind and they'll want to help, but we don't have affordable housing. We don't have lots of jobs for people who don't speak English. We don't have public transportation. This isn't going to work. Well, the same could have been said for Vashon, and yet they did make it work. But it was a long process, and we're not there yet. Pam, you're right. These people are just arriving. They're traumatized. They have nothing. And one of the things, I don't mean to ramble, but one of the things that I think we need to bear in mind, and this was pointed out to me by one of the Vashon volunteers, one of the instigators of this whole Vashon resettlement committee, whatever it's called, is that these people arrive in a very emotionally needy state. And well-meaning Americans step forward and help them. And then we all feel great that we did our job and we go on with our life. And they're thinking, well, where are you? You helped me. You are now part of my family. You are supposed to be in this for the long haul. And I think we need to bear in mind that there's a big difference between donating. We can buy gift cards, we can donate stuff, we can do that one-shot stuff. But if we really engage with these people, we need to realize we're doing it for the long haul, because they need connection and they expect it from the volunteers who step forward to help them.
Thank you.
So
I mean,
that's
both a warning and also an invitation, because obviously that's the kind of hospitality that we can look for if there are ways that we can contribute long haul. I was hoping to get Maddie Williamson on here because she's been working with a group in Turkey, and they are looking at the long term sort of challenges of migration. It's called the Insight Collaborative, and she was interviewed by the Kitsap Sun recently. And they are looking at the idea that obviously this is not an overnight thing, and solving the piecemeal problems are the immediate need, but the longer term thought about migration is going to be with us for many years to come. And so we need to think not only short term, but long term as well.
Maybe somebody else heard this today on the radio of a group, and I don't know its name, of Vietnamese Americans whose families came to Washington State as refugees, and they are now organizing themselves to offer housing to Afghan refugees, which I think is just amazing.
I saw Donna nodding. Do you have any more information about that? If so, would you unmute yourself and share?
Yeah, so I read that in the Seattle Times this weekend. There was a nice article. I'm sorry I didn't save it, on the Sunday paper about a Vietnamese American group that is now paying it forward, and they're out of Seattle. But I'm sorry I didn't keep the article. I should have.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'll send a link in this follow-up email. So are there any questions or comments from folks who haven't had a chance to speak yet? Sheila.
Yes, I would like to thank you folks who are presenting this and getting us moving on the these kits and the like. I have some things which will be going over to the Bounty Farm to this afternoon.
Sheila, I will definitely get back with you about some organizations that have been shared with this group already beyond this short-term effort. And there might be people who you could follow up with for sure. Also, Ellen has talked to me about the idea of if there is interest in some sort of a longer-term drive. If you are interested, let me know, and we'll see what we can do through this organization, just as an organizing principle anyway. I do think that that as we recognized with the Syrian refugees, there's several stages here. We have these immediate people who are showing up who need support, and organizations like Lutheran Services have experience with that first stage, and when we are asked to provide things like mops or kitchen equipment, that's what we can do. And if we are so inclined, we can also do things in the long term. I know that we were able on the island to host Iraqi refugees before, and we had a woman here who was a refugee who from Iran who worked in the center for a while as she was practicing her English. So there are things like that that we can do as well. Any other comments or questions? I really do want to thank the Keys for your short-term turnaround. Donna, did you have something to add?
Yeah, there was a great article again from the Seattle Times on Sunday, August 22nd, and this might be a great opportunity for you to pass on for people who are kind of immobile. They have money or cash they want to give, but they just don't feel like they're able to go out and do the shopping for these kits themselves. The Jewish Family Service has an Amazon wish list, so you can actually
SCM as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, SCM as well. And what does SCM stand for?
Well, it initially stood for Salam Cultural Museum, and it was in fact going to be a museum, but then when the Syrian war broke out, they kind of pivoted and not sort of changed their name to SCM Medical Missions.
Okay.
And also on the flyer that I sent, Reed, it has how you can do online donations there as well. So, and the person to send that to, which is related to our bigger project, but that online possibility is there as well.
Great. Well, I want to thank you all for taking the time, and I hope that the short-term result between now and Friday. We're able to get a good shipment to go to the Lutheran services and then continue on those kits. And as I say, I'll send out the information that I get. And if you have any that you want to forward along to me, I can share that with the senior center community as well.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Reed.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Reed.
everybody.
Thanks, Reed.